Our next student here is Shrey. I'm really excited for you all to see his project. So while it might look really small, I promise it's packed with plenty of features. And while I was working with him, this one thing I learned about him is truly his attention to detail. I remember walking by him day after day. It looked like he was working on the same exact thing as this case. Yes, it's a little spoiler, that's one of his modifications. But I was like, oh man, like, you know, you come in print with the new print every single day, it looks almost the exact same, right? But it's because of this attention to detail that it's become the product that it is. It's really high quality, and I'm really excited for you to look at it. I don't think it is. Please give it up for him.
Hi everybody, I'm Shrey. I'm a rising sophomore at Lindbergh High School, and this is my OpenAI camera. It's a camera that can send images to OpenAI API and receive back a text description detailing what's in the image. Now, when I got this project, I saw a small camera, about this big, that only had the ability to send images, and it couldn't do anything else. You could change camera filters, you could change the resolution, or add even a flash. And I was kind of disappointed, honestly. I thought it was going to be something much more than that, but it ended up just feeling like a toy. And that's why I added so much code to it. Right now, there are over 1,200 lines of code running inside of this tiny little box. And all of those lines of code have a purpose: to make this camera more than a toy and into a tool. Now I'll give you a quick demo. This camera has 7 buttons on it, 1 for the shutter, 4 for changing settings, and 2 for selecting settings. Now, as you can see here, if I press the shutter button, we'll take a photo and give you a compliment, like amazing, or 5 stars, or 10 out of 10. Because, you know, every photo is a great photo. And after that, it'll say a message like, give it a second, thinking, or ruminating, or which is one of the rare ones, to show that it's sending the message to OpenAI and receiving back a text description. And as you can see, it says, close up of a blurred electronic device remote control with multiple labeled buttons, including navigation arrows, function keys, like menu, auto, and escape. Now that's a pretty good description, but this isn't the only thing that the camera can do. It has other text prompts, like being able to write haikus, or identifying celebrities. Which I would do, but unfortunately I don't have a photo of a celebrity hanging. So another thing I added to this camera was this case, as you can see here. Initially, when I got the camera, it was small and easy to damage. It's actually only about this size, as you can see here. A lot smaller, a lot easier to mess with the insides. And I was worried it was going to be easy to damage, and it's not that easy to hold. And so I spent days, weeks actually, iterating over this case and making it better for the user. So it's easy to press, easy to hold, and makes you feel like it's not going to break the moment you do anything. Now that's not the only feature I've added. I've also added this little status bar on the bottom of the screen. As you can see, there's a flashing button and text that says right now, cycle through settings. This will cycle through all of the available button functions and makes it so I can hand the camera to any of the audience members, including you, and it would still work. You would be able to figure out what it does within seconds. And, you know, it's great. But it wasn't without trouble. I had a lot of challenges. As Gary described earlier, the case took a lot of redesigns. I started big and made a lot of cuts in between. I added this little ledge here that allows it to be easier to hold. I had some problems with the buttons, like the user couldn't press them, which is obviously a problem. And, you know, a lot of other problems, like the case closing permanently. But I fixed them after weeks of redesign. Another problem I had was with this screen. Now, normally when you take a photo, it shows you the photo you've taken, but my camera didn't work like that initially. It would show you a kind of broken preview. So after a lot of work and a lot of time taken to understand what my code did, I figured out how to make it display the image it actually took. Now, one thing I would say I've learned from Bluestamp is you need to look at documentation. Everything I've used in this project, everything I've used to make it, from the code to the modeling software, all of it was made by someone, and that someone wrote down how it works. Looking at how things work is a great way to gain a better understanding of your project and figure out how to make things go faster. And another thing I learned was it's important to understand your project. If you don't understand your project, who's going to? That's actually a problem, I think. I had a lot of trouble initially with my code. I didn't know what any of it did. But once I looked through documentation, I was able to figure it out and make something I'm really proud of. Now, if I were to add anything more to this camera, it would definitely be a speaker. That was one of the things I tried to add initially, so I could have text-to-speech, like reading aloud messages, which would have been really nice. But the problem that I had was the camera didn't have enough power to actually power a speaker. You could only hear it if you held it right next to your ear. And because of that, I unfortunately had to give up on it. But now, because I have more knowledge of this project, I could hook up a speaker directly to this little battery pack right here and add text-to-speech or music. That's all I have to say. Thank you for listening. Are there any questions? Yes.
Do you have any issues with inaccurate image identification? If so, like, how do you solve them?
I mean, yeah, I have a couple. Naturally, the camera's resolution isn't the greatest, given that it's about this tiny. So it doesn't recognize things all the time, but the camera is basically attached to the board I'm using that has all the logic and like holds the battery, which is, problematic. I could change that, but if I could, I would definitely get a better camera and attach it and hook it up so it could have better images that I could send it in. Yes?
How does it connect to the OpenAI via internet?
Yeah, that's a great question. Basically, in the code of the camera, I can input Wi-Fi, so like the password and the name of the Wi-Fi, and it'll automatically connect to the network because it has an ESP32 port that can connect to Wi-Fi. So it'll just send images through the Wi-Fi and receive back a text description.
How did you design the UI in the screen to track that way?
Yeah, that was really hard. I didn't mention that, but basically, the screen I'm using has a couple different modules, a couple different ways of displaying text. So there's one for displaying text, one for rectangles, one for circles, and one for polygons. And so I had to manually input like the height and width of a rectangle or the size of a circle and make sure they were positioned on the screen just right and had just the right colors so the UI felt